Okay, Dad. So we are recording. So the microphone is hot right now. And I know this is all new to you and you're not I know you're willing to do it, but you're not the most willing participant. Just because of this being online and everything and also Vietnam, you don't have the best, memories from Vietnam, but would you mind just kind of telling a little bit about yourself? Um, I know you just want to be known as Vietnam vet, so you don't have to say your name, but maybe your age and maybe when you served and like, I don't know all the lingo, but like maybe rank or whatever your title was or something like that. And then what we'll do is I'll just ask you some questions and like whatever you feel comfortable with answering, cool. If not, just feel free to say pass and we'll move on to something else. And I don't have any questions like pre-written. Just gonna kind of have a conversation, but I know because this is our first one that we're gonna upload, people just might want to kind of have a little bit of background about maybe even why we're doing this. So I could start off by saying we started off doing this as a way to be kind of like YouTubers. But um later on I realized that this was a great way to just record who you are, a piece of your life for your children and your grandchildren. So let's let's start there. Dad, how many kids do you have?
Hi.
5 kids? Okay. And do you wanna do you know how many grandchildren you have?
Um, I think I have four grandchildren.
You think you have four?
Yeah, I mean, depending on whether you count,
I'm counting seven off the top of my head, but
you're counting seven.
yeah. But we
Where are
we
they
won't
coming
we
from?
won't name them because I don't want anybody to know if they were the ones that were left out. um, how old are you, Dad?
I'm 81 years old.
81 years old. You just turned 81 yesterday. We are in the month of July. This is 2024. Um, and when when did you like how old were you when you realized you had to go to Vietnam? And like not only how old were you, but what were the circumstances behind that?
Well, the Vietnam War began, to be quite honest, I don't know, I don't actually know when the Vietnam War began. But I know the government, the United States Armed Forces were drafting as far back as 1963. At that time, I was about 18 years old. Oh, wait a minute. I was 19, I believe. But they attempted to draft me in Texas, in the state of Texas, where I was born. But the government didn't know I had moved several years before my 19th birthday. I moved to California. So it was not until I finished high school in California and went to college about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. At that time, I would have been about 20 years old.
Okay.
And that because they sent a letter uh, to my parents when I was 18. I wasn't there. So I think a couple of soldiers came to the house, recruiting MP officers, police, military years before this. So he wasn't trying to be a draft dodger. He just moved when he was like 13 or 14 years old. Went to stay with his grandmother in California. So they say, okay, well, thank you. What's the address in California? And they asked the address of Mamo's house, and I guess my mother told them. So shortly after that, they sent a letter to me, addressed to me in California. So I came home one day from work, and my grandmother say, "You got a letter from the armed forces of the United States government saying that." Well, she didn't know because she didn't open the letter. When I opened it, it says, "You are now drafted into the United States Army," and it was quite scary because I really didn't want to go to the military. I wanted to finish college. But since I had temporarily dropped out of college because I didn't have enough money to continue attending at that time, it was a widespread belief that people who are not guys who are not full time in college are were more likely to be drafted into the military due to the Vietnam War. So that's what the letter was about. So anyway, the letter basically said that I was to be at uh, 700 South Broadway or 707 South Broadway. I can't remember the address completely. I was to be there at a certain time, a certain date, and be sworn in to the military. And they didn't give you a choice. They just say show up to be sworn in. They were actually drafting me. I did not join the military. I want that to be clear. I did not volunteer to go to the military. They drafted me. So I appeared at the date and time and place where they asked me to appear at that particular time. And they literally drafted me into the military, made me swear that my name was who it was, and my date, my date of birth. I just had to swear as to my identity as a young man. So I had to do that. And then they swore not just me, lots of guys. It might have been 100 guys up there that day. So we were all sworn in on that particular day. And I don't know whether or not they examined us. We took a medical exam that same day. I don't know if the medical exam was before the swearing in or after the swearing in. But we had to strip down, and they wanted to check our whole body. So we had to strip down, and they had to examine us from head to toe to make sure, I guess, that we weren't ill, we weren't carrying any diseases that were, you know, that could have been communicable. And then they gave us shots and everything. So then they told us that we would be at certain they told us that we would not be going home from that station where they gave us the examination where we were sworn in, that we would be truck loaded or bus loaded to the airport.
So wait, let me make sure I'm following you, Dad. You went to that location. Did you, as you were going to that location, did you think you were going home that night?
Yes, I thought I was going back home.
But
They were going to talk.
you were basically in custody or kind of property of the U.S. Army after that.
Yes, it was.
And you couldn't leave to even say bye to your grandmother?
Nope, I didn't say bye before I left because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know they were going to just take me that day. I thought maybe they would give me time to come home and say goodbye to my grandmother and my brother and sister who was out there at that time.
Wow.
They just snatched me up, me and 100 or 2 other guys. And they said, "Oh no, you won't be going." Someone asked, "Well, are we coming back tomorrow?" "No, you're going to go right now. We're going to put you on a bus and take you to the airport. You'll be flying out on Delta such and such number, such and such flight number this evening." This was about 8 o'clock in the evening at that time, and you'll be flown to uh Fort Fort Polk, Louisiana, on a Delta jet, Delta 747 jet.
Prior to that, had you ever flown?
Nope, never flew in the airplane and had no clue as to what it would felt like. I always rode the bus to and from Texas to California. So I got a free ride, free flight to Louisiana. A horrible place. I never had been back down in the South since I was 13 years old. I forgot that there were prejudiced people in the world, prejudice against dark-skinned people. But I soon found out.
Because you had been in California for so many years.
Yes. For 5 or 6, maybe 7 years.
So, Dad, I'm gonna pause this right now and just kind of check in, see how you doing, how you feeling talking about this.
Very uneasy.
Okay, let's pause right here, and then maybe next time when we talk, I'll ask you some questions about, because right now we're leaving off on you going to boot camp, and maybe you could just talk about that a little bit. We could pause here, and I'll work on uploading this, and then that way you could take a breather and go work on your bicycles or something like that. You think that's okay?
Oh, yeah, I think it's okay to take a breather.
All right, cool deal, cool deal. Dad, thanks for sharing that. I'm sure this is a great start, and people who are interested in your life, your family, and generations, your grandchildren, your great grandchildren would love to hear these stories. So I'm glad you're opening up a little bit at least about it, and maybe other people who enjoy reading about history and the Vietnam War will appreciate this as well.
Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing this up to mind. I just kind of didn't want to talk about it and never have wanted to talk about it.
Well, hold on, Dad. Let me stop recording.